Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of light and secret knowledge wherever you may be, you are listening to Points of Light Radio, the podcast dedicated to taking you past the apron and behind the closed doors of lodges everywhere. And here is your host, Stan Miller.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. Shalom, assalamu alaikum, ad nastana. It's a pleasure to be back with you here on Points of Light Radio. And today we're going to be delving into history. Now, there's a group that's around today called Woodmen Life. They used to be known by several things, such as Modern Woodmen of America or Woodmen of the World. Now, just to give you a little bit of background here really quickly, by 1896, membership in secret fraternal orders in the United States sat at around 6,400,000. Amazing, isn't that? Like when you think about that number. The Modern Woodmen of the World, or Modern Woodmen of America, sat at around 204,000. Now, the Modern Woodmen of America, or as they would eventually be called Woodmen of the World, was founded in 1883 by Joseph Cullen Root, pictured here. Now, Mr. Cullen Root had been a member, or was a member, of the Freemasons, the Knights of Pythias, Oddfellows, and the Ancient Order of United Workmen. And he dreamed of a fraternal benefit society that would provide financial security to families from all walks of life. Now, historically, the top organizational structure of Woodmen Life, or Woodmen of the World, was the Sovereign Camp, and they met every 4 years. When the Sovereign Camp was not in session, the organization was run by a board of directors. The states were called either jurisdictions or head camps, or what we would today call the Grand Lodge of that state. Local groups were called camps, courts, or groves. These would be what today we'd call lodges. The lodges worked 4 degrees, in which force and Roman courts figured as symbols in the proceedings. There was an initiation, and then Root also provided 3 further degrees named morning, noon, and night to the camps that were desiring a little more elaborate fraternal work. And some of these are still practiced today in Woodmen Life. So, I was unable to find any information on the rituals involved in the morning, noon, and night degrees, but I did, however, find some information on the first degree ritual, also known as the protection degree. Now, in this degree, Woodmen had initiation rites that members would have to endure in order to be inducted into the group. Now, these were usually designed to be memorable for the initiant, as well as provide some entertainment for the established members. All right, now one well-documented rite that prospective woodmen were required to endure was a practice called riding the goat. Anybody ever heard that term? Yeah, I know I have. A member by the name of Ed Dumoulin invented a mechanical goat which the initiate would be required to ride. Now, I've managed to obtain some footage which could perhaps be what this ritual entailed. I can guarantee you that rider, that initiate, he remembered that ritual until the day he died. What do you want to bet? Right? Okay. Now, now, the initiates were also required to pass a fitness test before they could be admitted, due to the fact that the purpose of the group was to provide a life insurance policy for its members. Another more interesting aspect of the Woodmen is the distinctive headstones that you can find at the graves of its members. Now, the likely design includes a tree stump or the design of a tree stump carved on a marker, right? Quite interesting. I don't know of any other organizations that did anything like that, right? But membership in fraternal organizations such as the Woodmen began to decline in 1930. Now, this was due to the fact that the Great Depression hit the United States at about that time. And due to the Great Depression, right, many of the members were unable to pay their membership dues due to financial hardship caused by the Depression. Another alleged fact was the New Deal legislation that was enacted between 1933 and 1938 by the federal government. Now, that legislation brought about the establishment of Social Security, so members would not have felt they needed a lot of the benefits from the Woodmen. But the group did evolve in a series of mergers into what today is known as Woodmen Life. And this is a not-for-profit fraternal benefit society. But the fraternal side does still exist, complete with an initiation ritual and beneficiary. Members are still given an annual password, and only the initiatory degree in that of obligation is compulsory. However, the morning, noon, and night degrees are still available to the camps that desire more elaborate fraternal work, and are still practiced in some camps today. There you have it, brothers and sisters, the Woodmen of the world. How do you feel about them? I wasn't able to reach any of them when doing research for this podcast. To break it down, I know now you've seen me show you footage or pictures from other organizations over the course of Points of Light Radio. Just getting back to that riding the goat footage you saw, I know a lot of people will watch something like that and say, well, that's just crazy. You have to understand something. That's all part of what I've told you before, a lesson. And it is a lesson that is explained to you as you go through the ritual. So those who have gone through it or those who are going through it will understand it. It's not just another, like they talked about it as being kind of entertaining for those who, to the established members. A lot of it isn't. A lot of it is designed to teach you a lesson. And it's a lesson, like I keep saying, that you will take with you, make it memorable, right? You can call it shocking the subconscious, call it what you want. But the lesson behind that, things such as riding the goat, or you saw in another podcast some guy crawling through what looked like a pipe or a tube while people beat on it, they would explain that to you as you were going through it. You would understand it then, and it wouldn't be something that would spook you. So before anybody draws some conclusions that aren't there, you should remember that, right? But moving on, I'm sure that the Great Depression hurt, right? But as you've heard me say here before, members really need to help each other during hard times like that. I'm sure that their grand councils and so on were under a certain pressure of their own, but there's ways to weather your way through that. as many organizations did and still do today during recessions and depressions. Okay. Having said that, there were, as I've seen a table of the different fraternal organizations that were around in the late 1800s in the United States, and there were many. So laws of average would say that some of them would fail. Now, Woodmen of the world didn't necessarily fail. They morphed into other organizations, right? And also here you see it again. Masons or members of other fraternal organizations, starting lodges. As you heard me say at the start of this particular segment, Joseph Cullen Root had been a member or was a member of the Freemasons, Knights of Pythias, Oddfellows, Ancient Order Workmen, and so on. Right now, as you've heard me say before and heard it said here on Points of Light Radio, the grips and passwords are there partly to protect people from sneaking in and then taking what they see during the ceremonies or during the meetings, and copying them. Well, the members themselves were the ones that copied those rituals and so on in the organizations that they set up. So, right. But I hope you enjoyed what you've seen here today. Right. And fraternalism does evolve over time, and organizations wax, wane, succeed, and fail. That's all part of the history of fraternalism. And we'll study more of these organizations going forward. But that's all I have time for today, brothers and sisters. Before I go, I want to remind you, as always, that this podcast is available on both YouTube and Spreaker. Please share, like, and subscribe when viewing Points of Light Radio on YouTube. You can follow Points of Light Radio on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Points of Light Radio. My Twitter handle is at PO Light Radio. You can see the link to my Spotify channel as well as my Points of Light Radio store. Brothers and sisters, it's been a pleasure bringing you this segment. Until we meet again, just step into the light.